Welcome to the Real Refined Podcast, where faith and the mind meet. I'm your host, Bree. And I'm your host, Tiara. Tap in.
Hello, Real Refined fam. We are back with another one. We are back in the studio. We're getting so close to the end of the year. Can y'all believe that the year is about to be over?
Yes, I can, and I'm glad to see it go.
But I feel like we just had like a beginning of the year episode, and now we're already like dang near at the end of the year. I just think it just went by really, really fast.
It did.
It's crazy. But welcome back to another episode, y'all. T, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm making it. Y'all, I'm an entrepreneur now. A serial entrepreneur. Not a serial killer, but entrepreneur. And it's crazy, but we have an amazing guest on set. I'll actually just, before we go into like who's here, we're going to be talking about father wounds today. But disclaimer, we're not bashing our fathers. Really, we're going to talk about what that father relationship looks like, not only with our earthly fathers, but our God, who's our father. So we're going to just, it's not going to be just one set topic. I really expect for us to have a very like deep conversation, something that's going to hopefully heal y'all as we have gone through our healing processes. So would you like to introduce our beautiful guests?
Absolutely. Today we have with us again, she's not a stranger to the show,
For sure.
the beautiful, gifted, anointed Ciji Buchanan. She is a wife, mother. She is the president of the Sunbeams. She is a football mom, football wife, right?
You had to have been there to know what the sunbeams are.
I mean, you just had to have been there. If you don't know what it means, then Google it. And of course, she is a gifted, anointed dancer, speaker, coach, all of the things. And of course, she's a friend to the show and one of my very close dance sisters. I'm just so happy to have her back on the show. So she's going to help us unpack this. What's going on with you, sis?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back here. This is like family. This is a very inspirational podcast. So if you're not locked in, you need to get locked in. You need to subscribe because they definitely can help you through your walks in life. So I am so excited to be here.
And we're just
amongst
glad
these
you're
bosses, baby, because these
Glad to have you
bosses.
back, friend.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you.
I wish we had some tissue. I'm going to try not to cry today.
It's okay.
I feel like this season 3 has been really great for me. I haven't really cried. I feel like you did though. If we're just keeping score, just saying.
Barely, but I caught it. They were just sitting. So
I don't think it was barely, but it's okay.
I don't know if that counts, but okay.
It was was it a
No.
Okay.
No.
But I will try not to cry today. But just to kind of kick off the conversation, before we even started, we kind of were talking about the father wounds anyway. But this topic opened itself up when we were talking about Real Wifey, from the vein of not looking at our husbands as our fathers in the sense of the healing and the things that we expected our father to do. And I also think about how when we don't have those solid relationships with our fathers, we tend to look at our husband as lacking those things or searching for those things that we didn't have. And I honestly think it creates like a strain a little bit. Even thinking about like our self-worth. Fathers, in my opinion, because I always talk about the relationship that T has with her dad. It's beautiful, y'all. But in my opinion, your father is your protector. He gives you advice. He disciplines you. He redirects you. There's so many things that your father is supposed to do. And when you're a young woman, or even if you're a young man who does not have that relationship, I really feel like it impacts so many of your adult relationships. And for girls in general, I know we always say, well, she never had her dad in her life, that's why she's acting like that. I honestly think that's true. Because if you don't have an example of what a man is supposed to be, a leader is supposed to be, you're going to go after just anything. You're going to be, honestly, if I'm being realistic, you're going to be trying to fill this void with a little bit of this and a little bit of that, because you are not getting that from whatever man you're currently with. So I can take this so many different ways. But when we just think about those father-daughter relationships and those father wounds, like I'll start with you, CG, since you, I guess. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about this topic?
Well, backstory, I did not have my father in my life at all. And then he unfortunately passed away at a young age. So it had always been my mother. And so in that, I did not know what the role of a father was. I didn't know what to expect from men or the value that I had. I was always measuring it with what do I have to offer them? Like, what would make them stay? What would make me worthy? Like, because I never had anybody that I felt in my life that stayed voluntarily. Like, I want to be here. Like, that's just what I felt as my father not being there. Like, I felt like maybe I wasn't worthy because he did have a family. And I just felt like I just wasn't worthy of that relationship. And that's just what I felt. Now, what the facts were, who knows? You really can go from what you're told as a child, but I just had to unpack my value and my worth. But I did know in that as my relationships grew with men and guys, I would find myself trying to, because of the abandonment issues that I had, I would find myself clinging to and just trying to make sure that I did everything right in my eyes so that, well, maybe if I do it right and they're happy with me, they'll stay. But ultimately that would bring compromise. That makes you change your values and you're just trying to do whatever it is so that person doesn't leave because that's just what you've dealt with men or the man that was sent here to protect you and to place those things in you. But that my daddy issues, it played a role even into my marriage, which is how we initially got on to this topic. I would put my husband in the place of a father, and it would cause a strain in our relationship because he couldn't just be his role of my husband, just being my lover, being my companion. I'm looking to him for things that were supposed to already be instilled in me. Like my value, just knowing so I'm looking for him to be like, you're pretty, you look good, and these are things that should have already been there. So not only is he trying to just love me as his wife, I'm like,
give me more.
It's not enough. Like you just saying, oh baby, you look nice. But do you really think I look nice?
Yeah.
Was that real? And it just would put him in a unfair spot, really. Like it's not fair for him to have to try to fill those voids when all I'm really just trying to do is love you as my wife and as my companion. I'm looking to him for approval. Like, did I make the right decision? And it's your decision, babe. But I just want you to be pleased. I want you to be okay. And then we can go on because now we going spiritual. But as far as my daddy issues, it definitely had a role in my earthly relationships as far as with men. So yeah.
I can relate to that so much. I don't want to run it. T, what do you think about whenever we talk about like the father-daughter relationship?
Man, I want to make sure what I say doesn't get taken the wrong way. I think that our relationships with our father are probably the most important relationships. And not to take anything away from mothers, because that nurturing and, that's important too. It's extremely important. But I think that the relationship that people have with their father, whether you're a man or you're a woman, I really think it sets the tone for everything else in your life.
Absolutely.
And while I've had a great relationship with my father, and of course we went through the teenage phase and, all the things, and it's not always been perfect. But even when I've dated men, I can tell the difference in the ones who had a present and active father in their lives and the ones that did not. Even if they had like somewhat of a strained relationship, just that foundation of like what it is to be a man. And of course that a man can speak on that a lot better than I can, but just in my experience with dating, a man being in his son's life makes a huge difference in the things that he knows how to do, the things that he feels obligated, the things that he takes responsibility for. And for women, I really do believe that kind of speaking to what you spoke to, Ciji, that your relationship with your father really does set the foundation for what your standards and your value is.
Absolutely.
And while fathers may not, oh, you're the prettiest girl in the world and stuff like that, just their presence in faithfulness and being present and, protective and providing, and even their discipline, it really does set the foundation for everything else. So I think it's an important relationship. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because a lot of people are dealing with either not having their father in their life at all, or having a father that was extremely emotionally distant, or even abusive in some people's cases. So I think that this just resonates with a lot of people, and it's important because it's a lot of different family dynamics and situations that are going to be revealed and that are going to be able to relate to this.
Yeah. Before we started, I mentioned that I could only have this conversation from a healed and forgiven standpoint, because I was just thinking about the fact that for those who do not have their fathers in their life, there's a lot of anger that builds up. It depends on the dynamic of the relationship, but I know for me, when I was small, daddy's girl. You couldn't tell me nothing about my daddy. Every time that he came, I'm running like to dang near knock him over. I was a daddy's girl. And as I got older, you start to notice that he's not really there as much as you want him to be there. Like, okay, where's my dad? And then, of course, military has you moving around and things like that. And I remember just feeling very angry with him. Teenagers don't really express their anger in the proper ways. So I kind of just distance myself from him, because I'm like, well, if you really don't want to be in my life, that's just based on a little bit of what you know as a child. We don't really know the full circumstances of why. And because I was so angry, I just didn't want to like have that relationship. And then as I got older and more mature, and more so now as I healed, I realized that he's a person. Like the same way that we're in our 30s and so going through life stressors and dealing with depression and anxiety, which they didn't really talk about that back then, but he is a person. And because he's a person, he's going through real things. Maybe he was not taught how to effectively communicate. Maybe he wasn't provided with the emotional intelligence and understanding of what he was feeling. Maybe his mom and his dad wasn't in his life. There's so many different things that contributed to why he couldn't show up for me. Because I started to feel like, well, what did I do for you not to be here for me? Was I just not worthy enough? You start looking at yourself as unworthy, like you were speaking to earlier. I can relate to that, because it was just like, did I do something to you for you not to show up for me? Did I do something? But then you get older, and once you heal and you forgive and you go through it, even thinking about how my relationship with my earthly father made it harder for me to have a relationship with God.
Oh, come on.
Like I wanted, and it was really my friend Tiara here that pushed me to have a better relationship with God, because
He will push.
I'm a pusher, Katie.
I'm a pusher. For me, there was a disconnect there. Like, how do I have and put so much trust in God our Father when I don't really feel like I can trust my Father on earth? Like, I feel like you didn't love me, protect me the way that you didn't pour into me the way that I thought you should have. So now I have to build a relationship with God who's in heaven. And it's just like, how do you do that? And then I navigated through that. But that is the segue to how I was able to heal and have that better relationship. And we're still working on our father-daughter relationship, me and my dad. But I had to heal. I had to really go through the process. Healing is ongoing. It doesn't just happen tomorrow. But the turning point was just like, you're not just my father. You're actually a person. The same thing happened with my mom. You're not just my mom. You are a person who has gone through real life things. I don't know your life story, but I'm going to start asking you questions. Hey, what happened with so-and-so? How did you get here? So on and so forth. So I say all that to say, like, I can relate to like how that relationship is critical, and it's the foundation of so many other things. it's just I can take this so many different ways. I don't want to get too deep because then I don't have no tissue up here.
No, we can get you some.
Girl, don't try to press me to cry.
So no, what happened? So you said that when you were younger, you were a big daddy's girl. Y'all had a really good relationship. And then at some point there was distance between y'all. What happened when that relationship changed?
What happened between me and my dad, or like how it changed?
Just in general, what happened in general to that was kind of the catalyst of y'all's dynamic changing?
So my mom joined the military. She joined the army, and we moved. And so at first I thought that would be the reason why maybe I couldn't see him physically, but maybe it's a distance. I honestly don't know what actually happened. I just know that whenever we started to move away from home, things changed. You know, I obviously didn't see him as much, but what made me angry, the change that made me really angry, is that he had our contact information. He knew where we were living. My mom never kept us away from him. And so because I didn't really ever hear from him, it's just like, do you want to be in my life? Do you want to be here? So I think what changed would have been us moving, for one, which to me, distance shouldn't change the relationship. That's just how I feel about it. Distance shouldn't change that you can just call and we can have a conversation on the phone.
Okay.
You can ask me how I'm doing. And I'm not saying he never did that. It's just the times that I knew that I needed a father, that was critical. Like, especially going into like middle school and high school, where you're starting to like other boys and you're looking and y'all looking at each other and you don't really understand what you're supposed to be looking for. And as you get older, even in high school, people talk about like dating in high school. We take those relationships serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, even
I'm still with her.
Right. So that translates to, because we didn't have this firm foundation and it's so shaky going forward, everything else is going to fall apart. Everything else. And I'm just going to do the best that I can with whatever I have. And that wasn't that great. You start looking at other people and your husband to feel, like I said earlier, fill this void that he didn't create. Like, he didn't give you the trust issues. Maybe there was something that happened in your relationship, but if you came in that relationship with that, if you came in there with a lack of confidence and lack of worthiness, and you just came in there with all of the baggage, I will just say,
yeah,
he didn't give you that baggage. So now we're looking at our husbands and our significant others as, I need you to unpack this for me, as if they're responsible for packing the bag. And I think our fathers are those that help us with that, because in your mothers too, but your dad is going to provide you with this is what you should look for in a man. This is how he's a leader. This is how he should love you. This is how he should pour into you. These are the things the attributes and values and everything that you should be looking for in your significant other.
yeah.
And if he does not have those things, he got to go. He can't even get to the doorstep. But if we don't have that, we're just looking for anything. And then when we finally get with our husbands and we're not healed, let me just say, we're looking at our husband like, well, my dad didn't pour into me. My dad didn't, tell me what to look for in a man. Come here. I need you to tell me this. Tell me what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Lead me. And then everything else will just fall in line. But it doesn't work like that. It's a weight on our husbands that we don't even talk about enough. On men in general, we put like this really big weight on men's back, as if they're supposed to already know. But they're people too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a lot.
No,
It was good.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
No, what you got to say, Ciji?
Well, because my good father, I was speaking earlier about how intentional God, my father, is, and I have really just started to get into that relationship, like seeing God as my father. Like you said earlier, it was hard for me to tap into that relationship because of the struggle and the voids that I had with earthly fathers, and just not being able to know what that looks like. Like, how can God be my father, especially raised in church? Like, if you do this, it's wrong, you're wrong. And just seeing God as the judge, seeing God as, okay, I'm wrong. And not feeling abandoned by him. Like, oh, I messed up, so there's no way that he could love me anymore, because that's just what my earthly father did. I didn't feel like he loved me because you left me, like you didn't even try. But just I've had a revelation this week. Just my issue really became men not showing up. Like that's just where the root of it was in my unforgiveness. I had, when you didn't show up for me and you said you were going to be there for me and you were not, it just put a hold in my heart. And so God worked on me with that, with forgiving. But then here recently, me and the Lord has set a time where we were going to spend time together working on our relationship. And it was at a time I'm like, Lord, I don't get up that early.
What time is it? What time is the date?
It's 4:00 in the morning.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's early.
And he said, 4 is our time. And I said, but what about when I got like, I don't have to be at work till like 10? Or what about Saturdays? 4:00 is our time. So he has committed, not just me, he has committed to waking me up. Like my alarm, I hadn't even set an alarm. He has been waking me up every morning on the dot at like 3:50 or maybe 3:45 and just like, and I'm like, oh my God. Like the revelation was just, you are showing up. You feel like this relationship is that important to you that you want to see me because you said, we're going to work this out.
Yeah.
I'm your father. I'm not going to ever not be there for you. I'm going to protect you. I got you. And we have our conversations, and everything that I've ever longed for in a father, I have started to gain, like just seeing him as my protector, talking to him about what I'm scared about. Like, I don't like this. And not seeing him as, you can't question God. You can't talk to God. But he's like, no, baby, talk to me. Come on, daughter. And I'm seeing myself as a daughter. And it just has opened up like a whole nother love for him. Like a real unconditional love, like an appreciation for God as my father. And I just really felt that he's a father to the fatherless. Like, this is what they mean by that. This right here. And so now when I'm looking at my husband and he give me a compliment, that's extra. I didn't need it. I appreciate it, but I know it.
And tell me again.
But you can say it again. 'Cause he said, you cute this morning. I was like,
Tell me I'm pretty.
okay. But I'm not needing it because now I'm knowing the things, and God has already told me I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And now I believe it as his daughter.
Heavy on the
Not just
believe it.
reading it because it's the word, but I'm believing it as his daughter because that's what he told me. So I'm just in love with my daddy. Okay, you don't call him daddy because we don't like that. But I'm just really in love with him as God, my father right now. And it is truly, I think, gonna help me and my husband in our relationship.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's so beautiful.
I love it.
I think that we all have a God-sized hole in our heart. And our fathers are a big part of being that representation in earth of what he's supposed to look like. And I think that when that gets skewed because of our fathers' humanity and their frailty and their, sometimes lack of consistency. And a lot of times the lack of consistency, it be about the relationship with your mama. Like the relationship with your mama didn't work. I'm hurt. My pride's hurt. My ego's hurt. Like something's going on there, and they don't have the capacity to put you first in that situation, right? I think that in general, we go the rest of our life trying to fill that God-sized hole. And, a lot of, single women, we are so anxious about getting married because we're trying to fill that God-sized hole. Like the whole reason you even want a husband is because you want what your dad was supposed to give you. And I think that it's incredible that you two are married women that are saying to help women like me, other single women in the audience, your husband is not going to fill the God-sized hole. Even when you meet him, he's not going to fill that God-sized hole. Only God can fill the God-sized hole. So I think it's just important for us to not put God-sized weight and accountability and responsibility on human beings, any human being, even with our natural fathers. Like I grew up with my father in the home. There were still times that my father did stuff that I didn't like, I didn't agree with, I didn't understand, or that, I felt like was an issue or caused rifts in our relationship. Thanks thanks to God, like he's still been around and our relationship has evolved. And I've matured to understand a little bit more so that I wouldn't, hold any of those things against him or just understand, no, that's what he was supposed to do. But even if for some of us, we're thinking like my life would have turned out so different if my father was in my life, right? But even if your father was in your life, he was still going to disappoint you in some way.
Yeah.
He was still going to let you down in some way. And it's not to say that he should not have been there, but what I consistently keep hearing with, listening to the two of you and with anybody is just being there.
Just showing up.
Daddies don't be doing a lot. Mamas be doing everything. But just being there and being just being there. And I find myself saying a lot to my dad that I appreciate him because when I'm dating, like the standard is high, right? And it's because I didn't realize this until recently. My dad didn't tell me this is the kind of man you look for. He never had that conversation with me. But as I've gotten older, I have seen that my dad is super accountable. Even the times where he does not show up, he's even recently said, like, there's some things that I did as a father and as a man when I was raising my children that messed them up. And so now that I still have breath in my body and I'm still here to make those things right, that is what my responsibility is to my children.
Absolutely.
So in our relationship evolving and watching him grow and evolve and deal with some of his struggles and difficulties as a man, my expectation of a man is to be accountable because that's what I saw. My father didn't tell me look for that. I saw him be accountable when he messed up. So I can also have grace for you being human and messing up, but I also expect for you to be accountable for whatever it is that you've done to drop the ball. And I think that, and this is a whole nother conversation because I'm not the man bashing kind, but I think that's what a lot of our men who probably did not have a father in their life lack, that struggle with the desire to get married is I don't want to take accountability. But I can say that I have that standard because of who my dad is. Apologizing if I realize I've hurt someone, if I've messed up, I've watched my dad do it. So it really does set the tone for your expectations when you're in relationships, even if you never have that conversation. Just the presence is a huge part of it.
Huge.
That's so good. I'm over here like kind of hold my breath so I don't cry.
Oh my God.
You were saying what triggered the oncoming of possible tears was you said daddies really don't be doing a lot. And I thought about my my husband and my daughter. She loves her daddy down. And I love to see it. Like I love that she has that. Not only because I didn't have it, but and even the relationship that he has like with my son, it's beautiful. It's so amazing to see them loved. And I want that for them. I want that for them. Cut that part out. Cut it out. No. But I want them to have that love and that protection. And I was been so intentional about marriages are not perfect, but me and my baby, we gonna see it through because my children get to not only see like a model of a marriage, but their dad is there to love them, protect them, discipline them, and it's on a different level. And I want that for them real bad. And so when you were saying that, I was thinking like, you know what? Daddies really don't be doing too much.
Just being there.
But just showing up and being there, that's it. All right, somebody else start talking. All right? And I can get this tissue. Thank you.
No, and even like God even was still present in the fact that you got to marry your husband.
Absolutely.
That would show up and be that consistent father for your children. You know what I'm saying? So that y'all could break that generational curse and your children don't have to know what it's like to have to try to overcome fatherlessness. Like they have their father. They have good relationship with their father. So God was even looking out for you even in that.
Absolutely. I think that one of the biggest things just being intentional about is just knowing that whenever you have like wounds and you're trying to navigate through this healing journey, your spouse is not responsible for healing you.
Yeah.
And so when I think about like father wounds, my husband, and I learned this, he's never been responsible for healing me. I had to do the work. Now, obviously, we look at standards and there's things that we want in our spouse. But at the end of the day, the work to forgive, the work to move forward, the work to communicate, because let's be honest, not all of us were taught effective communication when we were young. All of those things that it takes for you to be this adult who will have trouble, but a person who can take accountability and who can navigate through the highs and lows of life without completely falling apart. Your spouse is not responsible for doing that for you. They never were. Now, we want them to pour into us and provide us with affirmations that become confirmations. We want all of these things, but there's so much work that we're required to do. And because it's so heavy and it's a lot to do, we run away from it. And we just kind of sit, and people are just like, well, that's just the way that I am. You're going to always be that's just the way that you are. And you're going to always repeat the same cycles, and you're never going to grow. You're going to meet the same people more than one time. You're going to be in a relationship with them more than one time. Because there's things that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing. Yeah. And so when I think about like our marriage and I think about like my children, I think about what I didn't receive as a child. I think about how I've been flawed. I think about, okay, Bree, you probably need to communicate a little bit better. You probably need to make sure that you don't say things like this and you do it this way. You need to understand that your husband also had a childhood. He had to grow up. He's not this superhuman where he just does not go through anything. And honestly, men carry a lot of weight when they're the leaders, the true leaders of the family. The amount of weight that they carry to make sure, okay, bills, this, that, and the third. That's a lot of weight to carry.
Absolutely.
I gotta be your teammate. But I also understand that with the weight that you carry, you are not the responsible party to make sure that I am healed. Now, there may be some things that you have done in any relationship to damage me in that way, but it's still my responsibility. Now, you're responsible for taking accountability for what you have done. Yeah, that is your role. But the day-to-day, whatever journey I have to take, that's just my opinion. I stand firm on that there's work that we're supposed to be doing in any relationship, friendships, whatever it is, workplace relationships. There's work that we have to do, but because of how big it seems, like something as simple as losing weight. We see that we want to lose 20 pounds.
Ozempic me, please.
Like, we see we want to lose 20 pounds. We see the 20 pounds, 20 pounds, 20 pounds. And this is so hard. I'm not going to do it because I got to lose 20 pounds. But how about you start at just 5? Maybe just 3. And then when you do the 3, you do the 5, and then you get to 10, you get to 15. You're just like, before you know, you're already at the 20. Healing is the same way. You start little by little. And the only way that I said early on for me to be able to come to this place, because my father's an amazing guy. He's an amazing man. He may not have been able to show up for me the way that I would have liked for him to show up, but that doesn't knock how amazing he is. But I had to heal. I had to learn and I had to grow. And I want my children to also know that you may go through things in life, but the foundation is laid. It's laid. I may not have had that foundation, but that's no excuse for me to be where I am right now. That was a lot. Y'all been triggering me today. I just knew that I was not going to cry.
Too late. And it's on film. And we keeping it. CG.
Is my makeup okay?
It is.
You're
okay.
Beautiful.
All right, period. Because our makeup artist and everything. Sorry, go ahead, CG.
Oh, I'm just, I'm still just sitting in my awe. But I just want to also talk about to the people who, because a lot of people lose their fathers, and they don't get to fix those wounds, like, or have those conversations for them to even redeem themselves. Like, I've heard multiple things in my when I just started to try to unpack things like, oh, your dad did try, or he didn't try, or, just hearing all of the things. And that's why, again, it becomes so important that you turn to God for the answers. Turn to him, and then just receive them as humans, like you said, because as a child you don't understand all of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't. So just being able to forgive, even in the absence of, you're not able to hear him say sorry, but just know that he was sorry. Like, just know that if God gave him to you and he cared that much about you, I don't just think that God is going to put somebody there to just, in that role, to tear you and shred you in pieces.
Absolutely.
Like, so I would just have to believe that whatever he did was not intentionally to hurt me. Whatever he did was just a human act, and he just did the best that he could do. And so just releasing him to rest in peace and not have to me toil with that and deal with that unforgiveness of him not reaching my standards or doing what I thought he should have done. And just knowing like, hey, he did his best. And he did whatever it was taking for me to get where I need to be now. Because that's just how I have to believe it. I have to believe that God's will is his will. And it's all built to make us who he's calling us to be. So I needed that to happen, to go through that, to be sitting here, to talk to you, to tell you, forgive them, so that you can move on and live the life that God has called you to live. So, yeah.
Ooh, I was just reading something in Charles Spurgeon's book called The Promises of God. And the one that I read last night was a scripture from Isaiah. And he was just talking about God's providence and talking about God's omniscience, that he's all-knowing. So with all of that, he knows that this person is going to be fatherless. Like, this person's father is not going to be there. But because he's all-knowing, he also goes before you in your life and sets up, things for you to still get what it is that you need. And even when you are in a space where you feel like you are lacking something, you still are equipped with what you need. Like, the providence is that before you reach the situation, like before you reach this crisis in life where you realize, I don't have a dad, and because I don't have a dad, I don't have this, that, and the third. Or I have a dad, but he didn't do, or he didn't give, or he didn't know, right?
Yep.
Before you even realize that you have a lack, God has already given you what you need to sustain you through not having that.
Right.
And I'm listening to y'all, and a theme that I keep catching, and I've had this conversation with other people, is like the capacity, like your earthly fathers, and it's not just for the absent father, it could be for the one that's there, but they had a lack of a capacity to show up and be your dad. But God is limitless, so he provided the things that you need without you asking, and then also has brought you to a place of closeness with him where you would pursue him for the other things that you feel like you didn't get that you still need. So I don't know. I think that is beautiful, and it is unfortunate because it just, y'all, we got to stop going around just having babies for real. I'm serious. Like, we got to just stop. Like, we know what makes babies. We know what it takes for...
It takes two to tango.
We know what it takes. Like, this is not just for men, this is women. Everybody. Because these broken homes, this is the stuff that comes from it. And God is good. He's great. He fills in the voids, but we still have a responsibility.
Absolutely.
Accountability.
Yeah, we still have a responsibility to not, and it's no shame, no shade. Like, it is what it is. But we still have a responsibility to not just be going around freaking people because we feel like freaking them today and we don't know if we can live with them for the rest of
real refined.
Like, it's real.
It's real.
You know what it takes to make a baby.
Come on.
But like the broken home, this is the result of it, because there's many more people out there that are struggling with the same thing. And sometimes people get married, marriages don't work out, marriages end in divorce. Like, all of those things are unfortunate.
Absolutely.
But I know that there are a lot of cases where it's not that. And we just have to be mindful of the outcome, because this is some of the stuff that comes from it, unfortunately. And God is faithful. God will show up. God will do the things that need to be done, and you will not go without what it is that you need. But I also think, going back to the accountability, for us that are still in our prime, so in our royal oats, we need to just be mindful of, 20, 30 years from now, this could be your kid having to heal from and deal with this.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, no shade. I don't want nobody to feel no way. Don't comment nothing
Don't
crazy
comment.
under this video.
Email
I
me.
love y'all. I love y'all, for real. I love
Yeah,
y'all.
it'll spark a good conversation.
I can't help but to sit on the fact that in my mind I keep thinking as I'm listening to you both, like it's not too late. Like it's not too late to forgive. It's not too late to learn your worth. It's not too late to value yourself. I think we kind of get stagnant at that's just the way that I am, because we think, well, I've been like this for so long, then if I try to change it now, things will be different. Like, it's not too late to know who you are and whose you are. It's not too late to go to God as your father and really sit with him as, you are my dad and you are loving me and protecting me. There's just the world just creates such a stigma on hurry up and let's her already be there, and you need to be healed already. But you need to have your husband or your wife already. Like, none of those, that's a worldly standard. And it's not too late to sit with yourself and God and really heal and forgive who you need to forgive. It's not too late for that.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned. I even like as I continue to learn and grow in general, I still have to reevaluate what my values are. What do I value? In my value, the values shape how you live your life. So that goes into my workplace. That goes in not my workplace anymore, but it goes into like your workplace. It goes into your relationships, your friendships, all of those things where we think it's too late to figure out like what you value, what you like, and because we change so much and we're resistant, to that change because of how uncomfortable it is. Even like I know we talked about forgiveness in another episode, but forgiveness is uncomfortable because of the work. Like when you start putting your foot in it a little bit, it's just like, I don't know, this water too hot. Let me just do something different. So I just think about those young men and women who have not had their fathers in their lives and they've been operating a certain way for so long. It's always great to just take a pause and really think about where my life is right now and where I want to be. And I don't want to sit in so much of where I've been, because we know where we've been. You can use your past as a reference. However, like for those who are in that place and are fatherless, think about the things that you want to do to heal and what that looks like for you, and just do it. Like, take the steps. It's not easy. By the way, this is my final thought. It's not easy, but it is possible. And I'm a walking testimony of that. Like, it is absolutely possible to be healed and forgive and not be angry, not be resentful, not feel bitter or anything. And the amount of peace on the other side of that is beautiful. It's amazing to not feel like the weight of anger when you wake up in the morning, because it takes a lot of your energy. You're depleted by the end of the day because you're upset. The amount of energy it takes to be angry is wild. But that was my final thought, y'all. What about you, CG?
My
Because I know we're there.
was also to piggyback off of that, just forgive, just taking the steps of forgiveness. And I also want to challenge you to set some time to learn God as your father.
Absolutely.
Like, just make an appointment with him and just talk to him as you would your father, or about the things that are still tugging at your heart that you're struggling with. He wants to hear that. He wants to help you unpack. He wants you to live in freedom. And like she said, that's bondage. Unforgiveness is bondage. It's heavy. And it also affects all of your relationships. And I also want to challenge you, especially the married couples out there. I want to challenge you to allow your husband to be your husband. Allow your wife to be the wife, and just be your companion, and just let God fill that other void. And it will definitely allow your relationships to flourish. Let them play in their rightful roles, so that, and the way that happens is by setting that time with God, so you can learn him in those roles that you are looking and seeking. validation from. So that's just what I just want to challenge you to forgive, spend some time with God, and let everyone be in their rightful roles.
That's
good.
beautiful.
Yes.
My final thought is, I want to thank all the dads out there. Like, y'all are so important. Y'all are dope. Like, no, seriously, like,
Real.
whether you have sons or daughters, whatever the situation is, you with the mama, not with the mama, I just want to shout y'all all out and thank y'all and remind y'all of how important y'all are. Like, we need y'all. We love y'all. And whatever it takes to do all of that, we'll never understand. But I thank you that despite whatever that is, that you keep showing up for your kids because they really need you. And then I also want to speak to the fathers that have been distant or that have a strained relationship with their children and just tell you that it's not too late. If you still have breath in your body, your kids need you. Like, it will mean everything to them for you to just try to reach out to them. They're mad and it's okay. Like, however they feel, however you feel, whatever you went through, whatever space you were in where you weren't able to show up or you chose not to show up, it doesn't matter. Like, your kids still need you. So don't let the time that has passed or whatever the situation was keep you from connecting with your children. Like, they're your blood. Like, they have a piece of you in them. So if you still are able, connect with them because they miss you. And just let things go from there. Don't put no extra pressure on yourself. Just show up and let them feel however they feel. And I pray that everything works out with you and your people, your family, your kids, and everything. We love y'all.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I pray that this conversation was packed with healing and clarity. I know just by sitting here with both of you all and speaking to our audience, it was talk therapy for me. And I also sit in a place of gratitude because my babies do have their father, and they're also knowing and learning from us who God their father is too. They get both of them. So I'm very thankful for y'all for tuning in. I always hate that it goes by really fast. It really goes by. But this has been an amazing conversation. Before we close, Ciji, how can we keep up with you? Where can we find you?
I am on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. But Instagram, I do have a page, Let's Go Marriage. That is coming back.
It's here.
A little high.
It's here.
But yes, you can go. There are some posts there to encourage you, but just to cheer on marriages. And I also will be continuing on with my Cocoon coaching for at-risk youth. So just look for that to explode when it's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for y'all so much. Thank you, Ciji, for joining us in this conversation.
Yeah.
Dang, a thug was crying today.
Drop a thug tear.
Oh my gosh. But we love y'all, family, and we can't wait for y'all to tune in. There's going to be so much more. And I just hope that you love on your dads. And if you don't have your dad, like Ciji said, work on that forgiveness aspect of that. Until next time, we love y'all. Bye.
Bye.